The more I learn about schools in poor countries, the more I ask myself, could I even survive one school day in these systems? Since I'm done with school, I'll never know, but I decided to put my kids in a school simulation, giving them 5 challenges common to schools in poor countries. What they don't realize is that they're already in the middle of the first 2.
I'm so bored. We're getting bored.
Many schools in poor countries are missing teachers. They've hired teachers, but they just don't show up. Some economists wanted to see how bad this problem was, so they went to schools around the world to see how many teachers were absent. In Peru, 11% of teachers were absent. Indonesia, 19%. In India, an astounding 25% of teachers did not show up to school that day. Now maybe you think, sure, teachers are absent, like that happens, but at least school is still happening. But a different study in Guinea Bissau found that about 25% of school days were canceled because teachers went on strike. That means no classes were held at all, at least 1/4 of the year. I don't think my kids fully appreciated my absence.
They're being weird.
They might have even enjoyed it.
This is not how poor schools work.
So I did eventually come in.
Yay! Yay! And the teacher's here!
Now, as you were watching them, did you guess the second challenge? It's not as crazy as the 4th one, but it's still important. My kids are wearing uniforms. A lot of schools in developing countries require their students to wear uniforms. Now, that might not seem like a big deal, but that means if you don't have one, you don't get to come to school. So to get the full effect, I didn't let my daughter participate in this experiment because she didn't have one. So how do you get one? Obviously you have to go and buy one, but buying a uniform is just another cost on top of tuition and other fees that families have to pay to get their students to go to school. The more costs you add, the more students are prevented from coming to school, forced to stand outside wondering what they're missing. Speaking of missing, let's get to the 3rd challenge. I only have 1 textbook for these 3 kids. This is really important, but as you'll see in the 4th challenge, it might not be as big of a deal as we think. Let's look at this broadly. Schools in poor countries don't have books. They don't have classrooms. The classrooms they do have 60 students and 1 teacher. Schools in poor countries are strapped for resources. When I was in school, I had so many textbooks that my biggest concern was whether I could carry them. Generally, missing resources are a big deal because that's fewer resources used to help those students learn. But the textbook specifically might not be as big of a deal. And that, as I said, is because of the 4th challenge. Hola clase, hoy vamos a leer el libro Manolito Jafotas. ¿Quién quiere leer el primero capítulo? The books and the lessons aren't even in the students' native language. I first saw this in Haiti, where the native language is Creole, but the schools are in French. Kenya has something like 70 indigenous languages, but the schools are in English. Now you might think, man, that would be difficult to go to school in a 2nd language. But this, for the Kenyans, is their 3rd language because most Kenyans are speaking to each other in Swahili. So it's not surprising that when economists gave a bunch of Kenyan schools enough textbooks for every student, it had no effect on their learning. The students couldn't actually read them. I'm going to show you the 5th challenge, but it's only going to make sense if I show you what the first 4 challenges reveal about education in poor countries. Poor parents have to pay significant costs for uniform, tuition, and fees so their kids can go to school. But when their kids get to school, the teachers aren't there. There aren't enough resources for those students, and the resources they do have aren't even in a language the kids or the families can understand. All of these forces working against the kids lead to some sad results. A study in India showed that only 50% of 5th graders could solve a 3-digit addition problem. But even worse, if the addition problem was written horizontally, less than 10% of the students could solve it. It's like the math problem removed its fedora and suddenly nobody recognized it.
So tell me, other dimension me, what do you see here? An ordinary platypus? And now what do you see? Very Ahoy the platypus! You know, I'm starting to see why you haven't become a ruler in your dimension.
These schools make it nearly impossible for students to learn, so we shouldn't be surprised that students aren't learning. And we also shouldn't be surprised at how powerful the 5th challenge is. Okay, who just wants to skip school and go to Chick-fil-A right now? Since many of these families support themselves through household production or family-owned businesses, sending a kid to school means you're losing a worker. If kids aren't learning anything in school, why would a parent want to send that worker away when they could keep them home and make sure the family can eat? This is interesting, but hopefully it makes you wonder, how did we get here? That's why this video doesn't make that much sense unless you watch this video, which will help you understand how bad education goals ended up hurting schools.